Ba-da-ba.
Dad
You
would
guys are
want you to
such
choose-
Welcome to The Second Wall, a binge-free zone where we look at a series and discuss it in small movements. This time we are discussing the 2017 series Your Lie in April. It can be found on most podcast and social media platforms, a full list of which can be found at beardyandthebeast.com. Please watch episodes 19 through 21 and join Drew and I in the lobby to discuss the show afterwards.
Hey, Devin.
Hey, Drew.
There was a boy I met in April. He cried, flailed, and struggled so hard. It was unseemly at first, but on stage, he shone like a star, and he seemed like a dream, like a rendition of a melody. I made a promise with that boy. He said, perform with me one more time. That's why I want to struggle as hard as I can, no matter how unseemly or futile it may be. I'm going to continue struggling like there's no tomorrow, because I'm one of them too. If I just give in to my despair and abandon all hope, I wouldn't be able to face my parents who gave birth to me and raised me. This is my life, and if I just give up now, I'd feel sorry for myself.
Well, I'm glad that I encourage you to not give up.
I just want to get out there. It was such a good monologue.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. There's so much about these episodes that are just so good, and I don't even know where to begin.
Is it with the 3 sandwiches?
All right, that was amazing. I love the 3 sandwiches. It's interesting. So definitely in that shonen aspect that we've talked about, they're all just, actually supporting each other now, not seeing each other as rivals. Well, they are, but not antagonistically.
Mm-hmm.
They can share some sandwiches, just the right amount of mayonnaise and salt to let the sweetness show. One of the things that I liked about that, again, it's nice to see them, and this is kind of throughout all the episodes, where we're seeing these characters actually realize everything that's been led up to, where all of the characters have in some way moved forward with their lives, and understanding that, they're different, but they're still united in different ways. And it's interesting because, like, Kousei, didn't seem to really know them, but he was always with them. I think it kind of points to, like, Emmy was, like, almost always by his side at the competitions, which is kind of adorable.
Yeah.
And kind of goes back to how I always read that. It's like, she cares for him a lot. That follows up with, as I know we'll get into more in depth, Kousei definitely having a freak out moment, and them actually recognizing it for what it was, recognizing that, nope, this isn't the same type of nerves, and and being there for him in a way that we kind of said that Tsubaki and Watari weren't. They didn't quite necessarily realize how much stuff happening with Kaori was going to be affecting him.
Yeah, and I think that was one of our criticisms earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I probably ranted about it for about 10 minutes the other day.
Yeah, like, yeah, it was just nice to see them recognizing that, and I think it's neat to show, like, regardless if Kousei fully recognizes it yet or not, just how much of a support network he actually has that he never realized he did, which is probably important with all of the stuff that's happening. So I was a little sad we didn't get to see more of Emmy's performance, though.
Yeah, the performance, the structure of the performance has bugged me a little bit. Because Aiza Takashi had his magnificent piece, and I mean, like, everybody knew he was an amazing pianist, but like him really coming into his own, I think, was like a big part of what happened there.
Mm-hmm.
And then instantly, I'm like, okay, sweet. So it's like second tournament arc. This is gonna be great. And then we go into the next episode, and it's like, oh yeah, so the competition happened.
Yeah.
I'm like, who else played?
Yeah. Well, I think part of that is we had Takashi has a bit more of an arc overall than Emmy does. Like, Emmy's motivation was very clear, but we, especially with his sister, we have a need to see him grow. So we needed to see his performance, but not necessarily Emmy's, because it was tied to Nagi's performance previously.
Mm-hmm.
It was tied to her storyline. So,
well, I mean, I'd like to continue kind of talking about Takashi, but like even further, like we didn't even get to see Kousei's original performance.
Yeah.
It was abrupt. Like, they should have had a line in there at the end of the episode just saying, like, maybe like a monologue piece in the end. It's like, you know, I got by this time, but I'm really gonna have to do better next time.
Yeah.
There was a line like that Miseto said in 20. Said, like, you barely skirted by, like, you're gonna have to work for the next one. That should have been on the tail end of episode 19. Or 20?
19 was the first one. We watched 19, 20, and 21. So that sounds right.
Oh, darn it. Because I took my notes in a different way. I didn't put the key marks of, like, the key events that happened in each episode, so I'm unsure what happened in each. One sec.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, it was 20, I think, where she was saying that. It's
no, it was it was definitely no. 21 is where she was saying it. 20 is where Takashi played.
Yes, that makes a lot more sense to me.
Because 19 was very much Kaori's episode.
Right. Yeah.
Of all the, like, almost tearjerkers in this one after Aiza's amazing, Takashi's amazing performance, the whole Nagi saying, welcome home, my hero.
Yes.
I was just like, oh, oh, you got me again, you stupid show. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. What a roller coaster. Yeah, I think Nagi was really cute there too. He's like, I don't even know who to cheer for anymore. Like,
Would you cheer for your hero, of course.
Yeah. Well, it like, I think, again, that was so important for Nagi because, you know, at the end of her performance, just like, did I reach him?
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's like that validation.
Well, this is the great thing because it concludes the two storylines there.
Yeah.
Or at least the two arcs, I'll call them.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's been a lot up in the air about Takashi, who he is, who he's chasing, what is he playing for, and how confused he is, and the fact that he finally actually understands Kousei now, and straight up says, "See, I'm my hero. Thanks for everything till now."
Yeah.
that was the conclusion of his arc. And in doing so, he brought back Nagi's hero
Yes.
by finding himself. So it was so nice to have those two things tied up, not necessarily concluded, but have those arcs kind of brought together.
Yeah. And I like the visuals of the lines that were happening around there too. It was like just that subtle, like, holding a shoulder and then like, no, I don't need to be following you.
Mm-hmm.
And just one of those small things, but it conveyed everything that he was saying and what we were seeing with him throughout the episode.
Mm.
So I really appreciated how that was done. And again, just the same, arc phrases that we've had about did I reach him, and then moving forward, which has been throughout. And I don't know, it was so nice to see them. It was like they all just kind of came to that understanding, like seeing just that much growth in a couple of episodes. Overall, what I thought was fantastic.
I need to correct myself from earlier. Performance was at the end of episode 19. You were right, it was 20.
Yeah.
That the conversation with Miss Sato happened.
Yeah.
And I think being specific about that's important because these 3 episodes were not like disharmonious, but there was definitely like a change in tempo between the 3.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it almost felt a lot like some of the original playing of Kousei. Like the 3 different playing states that he would experience whenever he was playing at the beginning of the series.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Like, that is really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, no, that works.
Yeah. But so they don't flow nicely together in like the 3 episode arcs that we've come to expect through watching on this watch through here.
Yeah.
But they're not divorced, right? They are definitely part of the same piece.
Yeah. I think we kind of have, I think the tying point between the episodes is actually our B plot, our Tsubaki plot, more than anything, because that's kind of like that little bit of consistent through it. Which, because yeah, it's interesting. We're not like, it feels like, yeah, Kousei is realized in this episode. We don't really need to follow him as much. And then, episode 20 and 21 happens.
I remember where I was going with my statement. Because you mentioned like the repeated like, did it reach him? And that was actually encapsulated in Tsubaki's arc in episode 20 specifically.
Yes.
Where not only were the balls that she was hitting not reaching the music room, obvious symbolism there, but the fact that she was even like saying to herself, reach him.
Yeah. I actually really liked that, because it's the first time we've seen that happen from the sports side. Right, because it's still that performance. It's still, I mean, of course, there's a little bit more lead up around that, but it. I don't know, are we good to dip into Tsubaki here now, or
yeah, I think
for a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's the natural change over here.
Yeah,
way to ruin the pace of the segue.
Yeah, sometimes there's other things that come up in the things. So, and you know what? Segues are lame.
Unless you do them and say that was a great segue afterwards.
Yes. I like how Um, Tsubaki's like actually starting to click with what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's finally found herself, uh, and actually seemed to get rid of a little bit of that. I think I used the term spite before, um, towards Kousei. Like actually just kind of recognizing where she is and realizing, oh, maybe she hasn't been there for him like she thought she has.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think because we almost had the same conversation twice with her and her friend. Just me heading towards the feelings, and it's that. Oh my God, Drew, save me!
I don't think spite is the right term or meaning that you're going for. There may be some animosity towards him looking the other way, not quite understanding her heart or where she's coming from.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, how is Kousei going to be able to understand her when her entire arc up to this point has been the fact that she doesn't understand herself?
Yeah. Well, that was one of the interesting things where she's talking about, because I think it was part of it was like her realizing she's like, oh yeah, no, I know Kousei so well. And you kind of get this contrasted with Kaori, who's like, I want to know you more.
Mm-hmm.
Because we saw a mirroring to something that happened earlier when it's like, oh, I'm sure you're good at lots of things, and she completely freezes. But we see her do the same thing as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, no, you're good at lots of things. Which is interesting because it's like clearly you guys are close, but it kind of raises questions like, how much did you actually like? Did you know him, or was he just there?
Honestly, like, my feeling about him is he was just there.
Yeah.
There's not actually much to him aside from he's like a guy who plays piano a lot and mopes around a bunch. I'm sure he's got good reasons to mope around. It doesn't mean can't criticize him for moping around a bunch.
Yeah, it's just interesting. Like he's moping around a lot, but we kind of get this. We get this bit where we see that he was always there for her as well, even though she never, like earlier in the series, she didn't really seem to realize that he was there for her in the same way. But that had always been the case. And I think it kind of goes to like everything else. Like she's afraid of losing him, but it's like there's just been actions with her overall where it's like, did you have him though? And it's like you wonder why he doesn't see you as a girl. Calling a liar all the time too. It's like you literally just made him one of your guy friends that you hang out with. It's kind of always been your take to him. So of course he doesn't understand why he pulls a Drew, why she pulls a Drew.
I feel personally attacked.
Can't imagine why. Confess, then kick and run away.
It was adorable, but it was so weird. But like, that's how she would confess.
Yeah.
So it was definitely in character. What was the exact? Is this the one thing I didn't write down? When she straight up says, so then you have no choice but then to be with me.
Yeah.
And like the slow like turn of the head, like, what is happening right now?
Yep.
Like you just changed the dynamic of this relationship so much that I actually cannot respond to this.
Yeah.
Like, I do not know what's going on. Is this a joke?
Well, that's it. He takes and he actually says that afterwards. Like, oh yeah, no, that's the type of joke she makes. Which again, just to bring back that PSA brought back several episodes ago. Guys are dumb, and even being that clear sometimes, they don't get it.
So sometimes you actually have to say, "I like you and I want to be with you."
Yeah.
And then if he doesn't get it, don't worry. Darwinism will take care of him.
Or will it? If that's the case, you'd think guys would get it better by now. But it's nice to see her, like, she was clearly more comfortable after doing that too, and even more resigned to, like, not necessarily you're like being to points like, yep, brought him over some food and cut his hair. It's at least she now knows her feelings are known and she's more sure of herself, even if I don't think that they are necessarily the right pairing.
I mean, I think they could be. I just think that there is other pairings that might be better.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's not a good pairing.
Yeah.
Like Kousei and this weird friend that showed up out of nowhere and is apparently part of the series now. But I have no idea what her name is, but I think she's pretty cool.
I don't think I think she's been there like always.
No.
No, I'm pretty sure of it because I keep seeing, like, I look at the IMDb. It's like, what do you mean this person's been here in all 22 episodes?
What are you talking about?
There's a few people like that. It's like, oh nope, you were just literally in everything, huh? Who knew?
Anyways, like, she's the perfect foil to Tsubaki, so it's really fun seeing that there. Like, someone who understands Tsubaki emotionally the way that Kousei, like, understands her naturally, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Right, that makes it sound like they did stuff together. Hey girl.
He said naturally, not biblically.
But it's what I like about this is, like, even if Tsubaki doesn't end up with Kousei, what she has ended up with is understanding herself more. She understands her feelings more, and she understands where the roadblocks that she put ahead of herself were.
Yes.
She also knows what she can do academically.
Yes.
Which is interesting, where it's like, Tsubaki is definitely the definition of report card needs to apply oneself.
I really thought that was cute with the report cards. So I'm like, because they never made her out to be dumb, but all of a sudden it's like, oh, she's the dumb jock.
Yep. I can't help but feel like I'd like to see Watery's report cards. I bet they're actually pretty decent.
I could see that.
All those study dates.
All the study dates. Oh, with how many people? Yeah, no, it feels. And to continue with Tsubaki's realization, again, obviously stuff we're going to be diving into more, but all of a sudden the realization of what's happening with Kaori and how that could be affecting Kousei?
Well, that was another like super tearjerker. Like when the situation happened to Kaori and Tsubaki went to Masato and said, well, let's see if I wrote this one down. uh Kousei is going to fall apart again.
Yeah.
Like plays album like begging.
Oh my god.
I was like sitting there and I was like
Everything about that. Oh. Um.
in some shonens we fight with tears.
All right. Well, I have a feeling that that's the stuff we're gonna have to segue into here soon, because we're just talking around it a lot.
Yeah. Is there any
So,
little tidbits that you want to cross by before we do so?
so, yes, I want to kind of talk a little bit about just some of the visual things that I noticed. Um, uh, I noticed we've talked about the saturation of the show
Mm-hmm.
throughout. And I think they actually used it for foreshadowing in this case, because even before, everything happens, I noticed like the colors just a bit muted kind of throughout. Which is really cool, because it wasn't like the monotone-ish that we had at the beginning, but it was definitely like leaning more that way than to the sparkles.
Yeah.
And again, like just seeing the eye colors and the sparkle in Kaori's eyes, I noticed that a couple of times before stuff happened, like from the gray to the blue, which I know we've pointed out a lot. And I think, I mean, we knew this before. We talked about this before. Watery knows Kousei likes Kaori.
Yeah.
He has always known this. He has encouraged him in the past
Directly.
around this. But guys are dumb and don't realize this. To the point that Kousei goes like, yeah, I like Kaori's like, yeah, no shit. So do we actually get to have the fight now? Because I've been waiting like a year.
Like this started at the beginning of junior high. It is now the end of junior high.
I thought that was just, again, it kind of ties back into Tsubaki's arc. It's like, oh, just this realization, just being able to actually put the words to it. Right? Like Kousei specifically going, I don't know what this feeling's called. Like, oh, maybe this is love, even though we've all known it. Him realizing it, I think, is important.
Well, it's so funny to me. Like, not only has Watery been like, yeah, you like almost directly just saying, yeah, you like her, and like sometimes you got to push through. Anyways, it doesn't matter that I'm with her.
Yeah.
To him straight up saying it's like, when she wants a shoulder to cry on, she looks for your shoulder. When she needs someone to be with her, help her, she asks for you.
Yep.
Like, you are the person that she wants.
Yeah. It's just, oh, Watery is a good guy.
Well, I mean, if he was the goodest of guys, like, wouldn't he remove himself from the situation?
All right, so that's a little bit awkward because it's not, because Watery was there first, right? Like as the story is told, like as far Kaori is interested in Watery. Well, we've been told throughout the entire thing. So really, Kousei is the one who should be removing himself, because I guess Watery is girl.
Yeah.
He's a good guy for not quite, but I mean, I think that'd also be a different conversation.
But if Watery sees directly the signs that they both like each other and has encouraged it, like, who does the bro move? What's the brodicate in this situation?
Yeah, like that's why it's hard. But they're both competitors, so fight to the death. Obviously.
Works for me.
Yeah. Let's have the real shonen fight. Fight come out. Best friends turn against each other.
Naruto! Sasuke!
That's where we find out Watery's backstory, where his whole clan was killed. He follows a snake guy. Really creepy snake guy. Like, why are you allowed near children, snake? Creepy snake guy.
we discussed that in the... Was it the first Batby shorts?
I think so.
Might have been the second Batby shorts. The foggy
the guy
isle.
is just like, no, this guy, yeah.
This guy has a snake, and it's like, the guy totally has a snake. And I'm like, man, I wish I had a snake, but I don't want to be the guy with the snake.
Yep.
It
That was a good short.
was quite good, yes. The human skin boots.
Yep.
Anyway,
I think that was the first one, because the second one we just did an interview with Ashley.
Yeah. Really?
Yep. Foggy Owl 2, we just did an interview with her. I don't think we watched any.
Look. I'm paid to be cute, not remember things.
You're paid?
I mean... So now that we brought some levity to the cast...
Yeah.
Don't forget your onion goggles.
Oh,
I was cut some onions.
Don't forget your umbrella. Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Where I'd kind of like to start is with Kousei, because we've been kind of talking already. We've already touched base several times about like him falling apart and how Kaori's illness is impacting him.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that was tearjerker was when I think it was Kaori's dad said that Kousei brought color into Kaori's gray heart.
I loved that.
And that, like, after I had my little, like, oh, I went into, like, I said it! Like, episode 2! Or episode 3. That both Kousei and Kaori were essentially rehabilitating each other.
Yeah. It was a nice callback to Kousei's own feelings about meeting Kaori.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Bring color to my monochrome world. And you know, it's nice seeing Kousei have that effect. No, and he had no idea he was doing it.
Mm. Well, she puts on such a bright face, right? Like, you think, and I mean, you and I know this. Those who shine the brightest also tend to be the darkest inside.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, you could even reference like public people such as Robin Williams to know this, right?
Yeah.
That she does have a positive and energetic presentation or attitude, but inside that might also be her masking like a sadness or something foreboding, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's also such a trope of the Japanese schoolgirl in anime where you just have the character that's like that,
Mm-hmm.
and that is literally their personality.
Yeah, you're a pixie dream girl.
Yeah, and sometimes you are just the pixie dream girl, other times not. And again, I know when we get to our final episode, we'll probably be able to talk about this more. It's like it was always, I think, it's always there, but the darkness with Kaori, like even from like episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that line doesn't come out of nowhere. And, and again, much like the episodes before here, we're seeing how much effect Kousei's having on her temperament.
Mm-hmm.
As you started with the wonderful monologue, he has given her a reason to dream and hope. To go and do the surgery, and oh my god, that was so heartbreaking seeing her mom break down when she's talking about doing the surgery because of that.
Oh, well, especially in the middle of the monologue.
Oh my god.
The well, it's one of those things that like it really brings to light that part. I guess it's me stating the obvious, but it's not something we've outright said. But we have implied, I think, that her attitude in wanting to be remembered was essentially, that final flash of a star, right? Like, she wants to remain in people's hearts because she thinks or knows that she's going to be going somewhere.
Yeah.
So this really does just frame it, and it frames that picture. Like, you can see her emotional storyline leading up to this series.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, like, all the little things start falling into place. And some of them might be obvious, some of them might not be. But this monologue, much like Takashi's piano performance.
Yeah. I liked seeing her, shine.
Mm-hmm.
For first episode and a half of this. Right? I think it's absolutely adorable to see her wanting to, basically them practicing over the phone. I loved that.
Mm-hmm.
Saying, no, don't come so we can practice for this. But it's like, I didn't say I wasn't going to call you. Like, just all these like super adorable moments. And then he's finally like, no, I should go. Find his excuses for obvious reasons. There's a lot of emotional baggage there.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, Watery, being, best bro that he is, it's like, no, you're coming.
TBD. We need to take it to the Council of Bros to know if he's making the right bra move.
That's fair. Bra. And it's cool. Like, yep, hasn't been there in months because he's making excuses because he can't handle it. But you know what? She's doing things. She's doing her physio. Like, we go in, it's like, oh, she's not there. I'm like, oh, that's gonna be bad. Oh no, it's cool. Doing the physio. Parents there. Save the day.
Thanks,
Like,
boy.
okay. Yeah.
It's all because of you.
Yeah. You give her sparks. This is good. Color. Not great, not monotone. Awesome, love it. Let's go see her. I'll even bring her some cannolis. Yeah.
I was almost like, it felt too early for it.
Mm,
So, but I've been prepared, right?
yeah.
Just because you know something big's gonna happen. But the way the story structure is going, like if it's gonna happen, it's either gonna be at the beginning or the end of the coming episode.
Yeah.
Or I think there's an OAV, so it might be the end of the coming episode, and then that's the lead up to an OAV or whatever.
Yeah.
But it just like it felt early, but the timing also felt right,
Mm-hmm.
just because of how it led up.
Yeah.
And just like perfect responses from the nurses. It's like, what the crap are you kids doing? Get out of here. We gotta do doctor stuff now.
Yeah.
Get fo.
And oh, but yep, nope, just gonna say hi, and then again, just like the color's done so well in this anime about music. Like just like that color to like that instant desaturation, and her hand just like falling.
Well, and that's
And
well. Here's the thing. Like, so I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, one of the reasons why we don't talk more about music directly, as in songs and albums and production and that sort of thing, like for a cast, is though you have experience in it and you're knowledgeable and I have a little bit of knowledge, we're still far shy of where we'd need to be to discuss it at a level we'd both be satisfied with.
yeah.
And I think that would ring true for the majority of people who watch this show.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like accomplished pianists that are going to be watching the show. It would have a very small audience. And apparently, I was watching some weird ranking video that was just like popularity.
Mhm.
And apparently, this show was actually massively popular during its run.
Yeah.
So how do you express those emotions or adjust the story in a way that you can draw out the emotions of the audience?
Mhm.
And the way that they use the colors would be the perfect method.
Yeah.
It's just good filmmaking.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Right. And, you know, like just to compare it back to Carol and Tuesday when I first mentioned that this is an anime that we need to watch. Carol and Tuesday had the benefit of having lyrics. So we could follow Angela's story through her songs. We can't do that in the same way here. We can be told that this song is important and here's the reason for it, but they basically need to give us a history lesson about the two songs. Was it Love Sorrow and Love's Joy?
Love's Despair. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Love's Sorrow and Love's Joy or something.
Yeah. Right. But they needed to actually give us that history lesson because let's face it, most of us don't know Chopin. So them changing that to the colors and even going back to where you were saying about where it felt weird how they did the drowning effects early in the show. But and I think I countered with the same point that you brought up is like we need something visual because people aren't going to understand the music not being played right necessarily.
That being said, in my defense, it's because it wasn't a varied analogy.
Yeah.
It was just the same thing every time.
Yeah.
And thankfully there's been personal growth that's pushed past that, at least it seems.
Yeah. So I definitely get that. You know, and other things with the visuals with this here. So I talked about Tsubaki, uh, kind of being there for him. Talked about that conversation. Was like, oh, doesn't know, still didn't really have anything to say about him. That was good. She had to struggle for that for a bit. That actually ties directly into this because, as we know, we had the cat, and his mom got rid of the cat.
Mm.
So, they're out looking for the cat, and it's like, oh, Tsubaki says she'll go look for the cat, and kind of leaves there. And right afterwards, like, we have the little, or right before he goes to see Kaori, we have the cat there, kind of at his feet. And then right after this happens to Kaori and he's kicked out of the hospital, we have that cat that gets run over.
No.
And we know how powerless Kousei's feeling right now. We get this cat that reminds him of the cat that he had when he was a kid.
Well, no,
Gets run over and
no. See the power of it's even darker than that.
oh, yep.
So he can't do anything about Kaori.
Yeah.
But this cat gets run over. He is in a position where he can at least try to do something. And not only does he try to do something, but it does not have the intended results that he wanted. He was unable to save the cat. So not only is he intaking what's happening with Kaori, this is going to be reinforcing the thoughts to himself that he's powerless, he can't do anything, and nothing he can do will change what is happening to her.
Yeah.
Even though they've spent like several episodes now, like 2 or 3, directly telling him like, you're giving her spark, you're giving her reason to push on, etc., etc. Right? And this is just like building him up just to knock him down again. It's like, hey, remember the worst despair of your life? we're gonna you're at level A, we're gonna build you up a little bit higher to level B, and then we're just gonna push you into that pit again.
Yeah. Well, because that's the thing, like the darkness is so much. Yeah, he is being set up as like, no, he is doing something for her. He's directly helping her, just like he's directly helping this cat. And like, I don't know, just like watching with like the blood on his hands, like he already feels responsible for his mom's death, even though he's grown past that. It's
well, that's the thing. Like, so overused thing, blood on the hands, but it was perfectly used here. Tropes aren't always bad, etc., etc. The whole cat, and even up until the point where the cat died, I was not actually that fazed by it. I was just taking it in. It didn't hit me until he was looking down at his hands. And then literally that just tells you, using tropes, that he's going to somehow blame himself for this.
Yeah.
Even though he did everything in his power to try to prevent this.
Yeah.
And that's the terrible thing there. So like, when it goes into the next series of his arc here, when he's breaking down, like, they did such a good job putting context to it. I mean, the entire series is building the context of this, but this is probably the 3rd or 4th iteration of them telling you the same thing.
Yeah. And
remember, this blood is only okay in this anime if it's Kousei's blood. Anyone else's blood, it's no-go.
Oh. So we have that, and then next thing, of course, we've already alluded to. Obviously, Kusei's not around,
Yeah.
and we get Watery telling Tsubaki what happened, and again, we kind of talked about this. Like, Watery kind of understood where Kousei was coming from, but like Tsubaki just seemed to be completely oblivious
Mhm.
to how everything happening in Kaori could possibly be affecting Kousei.
Well, I mean, she's got blinders on. She's fully absorbed in what her relationship is to Kousei right now.
Yeah.
I think just to put this out there before we move to the next point, um, I understand why she's missing these things.
Yeah.
I'm sad that she's missing them.
Yes.
Anyways,
I agree with that. So we finally get this, and it was like, oh wait, he was there when this happened, and just like finally, after like 7 episodes,
yeah.
it's just like she finally realizes, like,
Oh.
oh,
Oh.
and it leads into kind of like, again, this wonderful, in my mind, wonderful closing of a story arc that we had. As you said, she then goes to Seto
Mm.
and begs her to go do something because she can't. She knows this. Again, nice character growth. Glad to see it with Tsubaki, and then seeing it with Seto.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, her calling and not getting an answer, just busting in, and
Finding him in
just
that
that.
same storage room.
Oh my god, same storage, same position, and it's like heartbreaking, and it shows her growth. And I think there's a bit of like she's a little bit more separated from it in some ways, because
Mm-hmm.
it's not her best friend this time, but at the same time she's also a lot closer to Kousei. with and you can feel her trying to build up the nerve
Well, this
to
is
actually intervene this time.
well when Miss Seto came back, she had it felt. You wouldn't call it a throwaway line because they were definitely going to come back to it, but she presented herself with a series of words. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but it essentially implied that she was going to try to take on some type of maternal role for this kid.
Yeah.
And like obviously his dad's not around. Who else can help but the mother figure, right?
Yeah. And like yeah, just feeling like, again, they just do it all so well. It's like there wasn't anything necessarily specific scene. I can't even think of a specific frame for it, but like, again, you just tell that she was building up her nerve
Yeah.
and drag him off, and it's like, even if I can't make you play the piano, it's like, I'm dragging you to the concert hall. I've done everything I can here.
Well, you know what it is, and you know how I think they accomplish this. Just to break it up before.
Yeah.
Because I keep looking at the bright lights that are behind my monitor here. So we received a lot of context around her original inability to help.
Yeah.
They definitely focused in on that scene when Kousei was younger, like partway through the series.
Mm-hmm.
So like you get to draw upon that direct parallel to get an idea of the emotional state that she's in and the relationships that she's like compared to the emotional relationship she's developed with Kousei until now.
Yeah.
So like that's why it's difficult to think of like a specific moment during that short scene, because out of context, I bet you if you were to watch it, it would just seem like, lady kicks in door and then tries to drag out, crying kid.
Yeah. And I think it's, we kind of talked about this with like in the last episode, um, because we had a similar thing happen with Nagi, right?
Yep.
And I think we specifically said it's like it was easier for Seto to be there because she didn't have any of that emotional attachment. There was no baggage tied around
Mm,
Nagi having a freak out. Right? This is just another student. Um, I think that helps build into this here as well.
I think so.
Because we get that idea that we know she can. um, and oh,
Well, like the repetition in the series is really interesting. It's almost like they tried to score it out like an actual musical piece.
mhm.
Hence why they keep directly doing references in the way that they did. So
Yeah.
when Seto grabs Kousei by the collar, and Kousei says that he can't, um, the people I care about keep leaving me. Music takes the people I care about away from me.
Yeah.
That directly calls back to Tsubaki straight up saying that music keeps taking Kousei away from me.
Mhm. Um,
And it builds upon it also builds upon the theme that despite the music, like Kousei's mother was still taken away from him.
yeah. It's. I like that you pointed out says musical pieces. It's very much there. It's the leitmotifs in
Yeah.
the visual storytelling. Um, it's. I mean, he was clearly done. like Chris is like, I didn't even like. At least before when this happened, he could like fake playing the piano, like even if it's just doing like that little bit of transposing and such.
Yeah.
It's like it's this messed him up, and it's and I think this is why we had again the episodes before where we're seeing you know Emmy and Isa were always there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even if you didn't necessarily recognize that they were there. Um, we have Seto managing to pull herself together to get him to the concert hall, and I think it was such a big thing that instead of it was such a big thing that Emmy and Isa were there. I honestly think if they weren't, I don't know if he would have been able to pull himself together.
No, I agree. And one of the things that really highlights his emotional state is it was a complete affront to what Tsubaki had said about Kousei earlier when he started playing piano again. I
Mhm.
don't care if he keeps playing piano, but he needs to quit on his own terms.
Yeah.
And this is direct opposite of it.
Yeah.
And I think you're hitting the nail right on the head when it comes to Takashi and Emmy. Like Emmy immediately knowing that this isn't him psyching himself up or just nerves. And
Yeah.
then when Takashi comes by, he's like, "Oh no, he's just nervous or whatever." And then it like, "No, it's not. This is different." And he looks
Yeah.
at him. He's just like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. And I mean, like, one of the big it's a thing that feels a bit weird saying, but I think it's very important. Um, when the two of them are like, let's get you to the infirmary.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think this is larger than them showing that they care for Kousei
Mm.
because performing is everything. Them, Kousei not performing in the past literally affected how good the two of them were. So again, showing that growth, them saying it's like, you need to get yourself taken care of, and that's more important, is I think another major growth point overall.
I didn't even think about this. I think you're definitely right. In addition to that, it also is another way they're able to highlight Kousei's condition.
Mm-hmm.
It was bad enough for these people who the performance is everything to be like, no, we need to get you to the infirmary. Like, you can't play right now.
Yeah.
So it's just highlight after highlight. It's like, Kousei's in a bad position right now.
Yeah.
And it was all told with, like, again, out of context, just an emo kid crying in a dark room.
Yeah.
But all the indirect storytelling regarding it, like around it rather, just highlighting repeatedly, like, no, this is a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. But just again that visual storytelling. So he finally gets on stage, and we just get that exact flashback
To when he was a kid.
to when he was a kid, and everyone knows, like, everyone's like, "Oh, this is gonna happen again," and
this is the thing, like, you didn't expect like a sneeze to pierce the veil, right? So
yeah,
Tsubaki's sneeze to tell Kousei, and this is like a little emotional impact. It's like the most emotional sneeze you've ever heard. he hears this and he's like, all of a sudden realizes that no, he does have a support structure.
yeah,
And he can push through, or at least try. Because the people that he cares about are around him.
yeah. It's just, I don't know, the entire support structure, like he said, like everyone had a part in it, right? You know, even going back to Kaori before she was sick, like just giving him that support to actually go and think music was a possibility for him again. To following up to Seto growing up and moving forward and getting him there, to Ima and Aiza, Emmy and Aiza, again being there. Like I said, I don't think he would have gone on. And then Tsubaki sneezing. It's like, if any one of these pieces wasn't there, like, we wouldn't have, like, he wouldn't have been able to go through with it. Like,
Well, even like the little bits of Kaori in his heart, right?
yeah,
Like, even for the umpteenth time, the sound of her saying, "You're looking down again."
yeah.
And then him having that moment.
And then seeing everyone else in the audience that was there in support. Like, we had Mike there again, little twerp. You know, Nagi realizing what's happening, like Nagi seeing it. Even the judge who was all about must have music, sheet music sacred, right? Like, him lightening up with this.
Perfect imitation, by the way.
I thought so. It's powerful, and you know, it's another one of those things that makes me put on the onion goggles, and it hits that same level of emotion without being the soul crushing soul crushing bit with Kaori and the cat. Like,
What's the thing? Like, the emotional spectrum is kind of like a color chooser, right?
yeah,
So if you think about a lot of these, you'll generally have like a wheel with a square in the middle, and there's like your colors, and then where within those you select like your tone, right?
Yeah.
So instead of being in the depths of despair and picking a tone from there, we're like somewhere between like sorrow and joy, and we're like going in between these. So the
Yeah.
emotional resonance is as impactful. It's just completely different.
Yeah.
And again, like I've said this a couple times, this is quickly becoming, top 10 or your top 5 anime for me.
Mhm. There was some real interesting visuals I saw with this as well. So, one of the visuals that we praised early on was how they always cut away his glasses,
Yep.
so you could always see his eyes, and they didn't do that here.
They did it on the opposite side.
Mm.
So they didn't do it on the close side,
Yeah,
but they did it on the side through the lens.
yeah. But the big thing is they actually covered his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
So we could see his heart, Devin. It was so we can see his heart.
uh, I could just imagine his eyes when they did that. It was probably would have been as lifeless as they had as they were before. Like, just it was really interesting because they obviously they've shown the emotion through the eyes very well, and I don't know. I feel like there's the visual of them covering that is again a way to show how far gone
Mm.
he is and needing to fight that.
Well, I'm just
Um,
waiting for him to take off his glasses, slick back his hair, and then take on his position as the primary antagonist of the show as he takes over Mundo. The dog got my joke.
yeah, she did. um, there's just thinking like Grimjaw.
Well, just one of those things like the few things that impacted me like things that they said during this series of scenes, of course, was when Takashi and Emi were like trying to get him to like go to the infirmary. He straight up just like stands up and like all emo like goes, "I have to play it because I'm a pianist and I made a promise."
Yeah.
And of course, I was like, "Oh." And then of course he kept saying he had to play, um, but then you hear Harry's voice, like, "You're looking down again."
Yeah.
That's one of the things that she kept saying is like, "You need to look up," right?
Yeah.
Then into the audience reactions to his actual playing. So he
Mhm.
definitely like leveled up his ability.
Yeah.
Um, but immediately people could recognize the emotion with the first note.
Yeah.
Was one thing that was different. And some of the things they said was Kousei's performance is bursting with color, bursting with such a mournful color.
Yeah.
So like being able to express his emotional state with the piece, like
Mhm.
immediately, like talk about piano no jitsu, my friend.
Right? Yeah, no trying to hold it together, just going for it. So we don't need to see him drowning like we did before because and he's grown. He does express emotion through the piece, and I even think they said something like him slowing it down a little bit and pulling out that sorrow. Like it's
Yeah, playing it softer and
yeah,
slowing it down,
yeah.
really letting the sorrow ring through.
Mm. It's it's powerful. and people recognize that, and even not necessarily, as we have said, not necessarily understanding all of the music without uh, a music lesson. it You could really feel it in a way that I don't necessarily think we could have throughout some of his other performances.
Oh, for sure.
Because again, right, like it was just that was how it is, and staying that way throughout, and it's that recognition again that he's not alone. Yeah, he is feeling it and that worry, but knowing that this time he's not alone.
That's important.
Yeah, and it lets him move forward, and that can look different. That can look very different depending on the person, but like the fact that he did it. It's and you can see the growth of him over the 21 episodes. And
I'm still. I mean, we'll probably discuss this at the discussion of the next episode in the recap.
Yeah.
I'm still a little dissatisfied with how Kousei centric it was, but they did do a good job with some characters kind of like expressing them.
Mm.
But I mean, you mentioned directly before, and you're quite right. It's not a Kaori piece, right? So
Yeah.
There's really two primary characters in this film.
Yeah.
And that's Kousei and the Black Cat.
Obviously. Yeah, I know that we'll probably be able to discuss that a lot more. We're doing that differently this time.
Yes. Before we go into the final arc of this episode, we are going to both be binging the entire series and then watching the last episode, and then discussing the last episode and the entire thing as a full discussion.
Yeah.
It's a different take, but it also means everything's fresh. Up until now, I have not seen this series, so I am really just absorbing it in 3-episode chunks. Perfect way to absorb it.
Mm.
But there's a bunch of content that I want to see what I missed, what I could have picked up on, and there's some cues that I want to look into. Especially I want to see if I can analyze it a little bit more and see how it really does compare to an actual musical score, like in its writing and its storytelling.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not the most qualified person for that, but
You've heard a song or two, though.
At least 2.
Yeah.
I've so much that your kiss might kill me. So why don't you kiss me? So I die happy. No.
What's the second song?
No dashboard. What's
the second song?
Black Parade.
Something can't sleep.
Consolate me.
I was thinking Wishful Thinking was playing.
Such a good song. I've been listening to a lot of Static X recently.
Nice. Oh, I appreciate that.
Rip Wayne. So a little bit about Kaori before we break then, eh?
Yeah.
We already kind of like talked about her weaving in and out of the other parts of the story. But what's the way to say? After she had her event, Um, and then Kousei somehow getting into a state where that he could go see her. I mean, that is definitely personal growth, even over the last few episodes, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of that came from his musical piece and him understanding his support structures now.
Yeah.
But it was such an interesting interaction. How she goes, like, I don't want to talk here. I want to eat these on the roof, right?
Yeah.
It's cold, I don't care, so they go up to the roof. It's like, okay, it's kind of like a romantic thing, like, I hope it's snowing, etc. The only way that she could have cheered on and pushed Kousei in that moment is by doing what she did when she stood up
Mm.
and started playing her imaginary violin.
Yeah.
Because it's something that would resonate, like just reinforcing to Kousei what he had been told several times over the last few episodes, like, you are giving me a reason to go on. Because apparently Kousei has to be told things 6 times before he gets it.
Even then. I think there's I think that this whole last scene just kind of honestly shows Kaori in a nutshell as well. So I mean, it's the simple things like he's there, like when he first goes in, he is mopey.
Yep.
For obvious reasons, and I don't believe this was Kaori's first time in the ICU.
It's almost like she likes to lie. Specifically in April.
She we just get that, again, that cheerfulness, and like it's as you said, it is a coping mechanism. They're burning bright because there's a lot happening there, but that doesn't make it not genuine. I think she is, even through all of this, she's found a way to genuinely be somewhat cheerful. And again, being able to dare to dream and hope, to the point that they're going to this surgery that clearly sounds like this is on the higher end of the risk spectrum, judging by the conversation we had earlier. And her straight up actually telling Kousei that, like, he's given her that hope. But we get I don't know, just him carrying her to the roof as well. Like, and just realizing how, I mean, again, he's always known how bad it is. It's just kind of like that extra piece. Like, she is so light. Like you knowing that she's basically withering away.
Yeah, I took it the same way as well.
Yeah, and she understands how hard it is for him, and she acknowledges it, and acknowledges that things might not go well. After she's playing the violin, and she collapses and just breaking down in Kousei's arms and saying, like, no, I want to know everything that I don't know.
Well, and that's that line that hit so hard. It's like, I envy Tsubaki for knowing everything about you.
Yeah. And And which is an interesting thing, is like as we're watching it sometimes, like, I mean, we had that discussion. I question how much Tsubaki knows sometimes. Because and we actually have a mirror, because I'm pretty sure Tsubaki said the same thing. Kaori gets you better, gets you more. Like I remember her saying something like that. It's like, doesn't know him, but they've got a similar spark.
Well, it's the emotional state, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm kind of defining against the emotional versus the natural state. So natural's not really the best term. I kind of referenced it earlier. Like knowing how he exists and reacts to things. But Kaori understands the emotional triggers of why he reacts that way.
Yeah.
Because Kousei has always been kind of one-track minded and then very hurt. He doesn't emote or express himself well. Like he even says, like, I've never been good with words.
Yeah.
So if he's trying to, and he was never given the ability to express himself emotionally through music until recently.
Yeah.
So like the misunderstanding makes sense.
Yeah.
I completely forgot. Like you reminded me now, I completely forgot she had said that. But like both of their point of views are actually correct.
Yeah.
But I think what it is they want Kousei in his whole form.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I know that that's where it's going, and it's just so.
Kousei the polygamist. I'm just saying, Tsubaki.
He's learned from his best friend Watery.
I'm just saying.
All of a sudden,
Tsubaki is best girl.
Season 2 turns into a harem anime.
only after he gets a cabot that turns into a spaceship.
Oh, yeah, watching Kaori opine for wanting to. Is that the right word?
It's a word.
Yeah,
That's one of 3 that you know.
Me word good. I'm not sure if that's the right word. But her
Golden State is one's opinion.
It's what?
Hold a state. Jeez, give me a sec. Hold and state as one's opinion.
All right. No, not quite right. But her expressing wanting to know Kousei more. It's I can't help but still contrast that to what we saw with earlier Tsubaki, where, and this is why, like in the back of my head, I go, it's not. Tsubaki isn't the right person for Kousei, because almost every time we've had Tsubaki expressing how she is, she wants Kousei to give up what he is, because music takes him away from her. And we get Kaori doing the exact opposite. Let me drink in all of you. Right.
I mean, that being said, the music that Kousei was playing until that point was not his music.
Yeah. No, because it was after that, when he was going to go to music school, that we really get how much he hates music. Because his playing was possibly going to get him somewhere.
She just goes on a rampage every time she hears a jingle. When All I Want for Christmas starts thawing at the end of every year, she just...
Uh, it's oh, it is just interesting to see that contrast, and I mean, it might be different now that Tsubaki has actually been able to express herself around it more. Um, but we don't get much time to explore that.
Yeah, my thing is like I don't think Tsubaki necessarily has a problem with the music. It's just her easy scapegoat as to what is pulling someone she cares about away from her.
Yeah,
If you played soccer, it would be soccer. You know,
yeah,
it's the thing that she can focus on and blame for probably
yeah,
her inactivity.
yeah. No, I agree with that. Is at this point and unlikely to get to explore that aspect much.
Oh, it's gonna be an entire OAV. It's just Rely in April. Tsubaki, best girl. Pretty sure that's the title.
Yeah. So we haven't talked. There is an OAV that's apparently a prequel. I'm not sure if we're gonna the 20-minute thing.
It's a 20-minute OAV.
Yeah, it's a 20-minute OAV.
It's just domestic abuse against Kousei for 20 minutes straight. Everyone's feeling uncomfortable like 2 minutes in, and it just goes for another 18. No
I haven't seen
credits,
that.
just beating this poor kid.
You realize the credit, like the beating, is actually the credits in Morse code. Apparently it's like Emi, Aiza, and Tsubaki, not Tsubaki, Kousei as kids. So probably like that first, like one of the early competitions or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Kid Kousei
Haven't
was
seen it.
lame.
I know. Which is probably why I have never bothered checking it out. I honestly could see it being more. Well, we've seen that with a lot of OVAs where it's just more snippets of things that we've already gleaned. So that's the impression that I get with that.
Or if it's misclicked. Dang it. I was gonna be smart. If it's Eve no Jigen, then it's an OAV that was cut up into 6 episodes.
Yep. This is true.
Probably because narratively, if you were to have them as one combined thing, it wouldn't make that much sense.
Yeah.
Made sense better as like, what were they, 15 minutes each?
Yeah. Yeah, like 10, 15 minutes. They were short.
Just remember, everybody, don't start overthinking Corey Taylor's lyrics. He's not actually that good of a lyricist. Bean.